These whites, they belong here with us. We are neighbors, but they must be prepared to share the land. The only problem we have with them, they don't want to share the land.
Julius Malema, a South African politician known across the continent for frequently and unapologetically making controversial statements.
How do you say we are wrong by asking people to go and occupy what is rightfully belonging to them? The land belongs to you.
He shot to fame in 2008 when he was elected president of the African National Congress Youth League. But several years later, he was kicked out of the party following a fallout with the then president Jacob Zuma. Malema, along with his close ally Floyd Shivambu, went on to establish their own political party in 2013, naming it the Economic Freedom Fighters, or EFF. The following year, they contested the national election and secured 25 seats in parliament, a place they would use as a platform for what some describe as political theatrics. So today I'm sitting down with Julius Malema at his Johannesburg headquarters for a wide-ranging conversation, from the political ideology that drives the EFF.
If you go to Cuba, you'll find a very successful socialist state.
To his position on immigration.
We must have one passport for all Africans, where we're able to move freely without any hassle.
But I would also like to explore the lighter side of the man known to his supporters as Juju. I know that you also love music. I know for a fact that you're a DJ.
Absolutely.
Which one is better? South Africa's Amapiano or Nigeria's Afrobeat?
South Africa Amapiano.
Most importantly though, I'd like to know if Julius Malema is losing his popularity, especially considering the 2024 election outcome and the recent departures of key EFF leaders. I am Mpho Lagaje, and this is Africa Daily. Sure, there's plenty to discuss today, so let me jump straight into it. Mr. Malema, thank you so much for speaking to the BBC World Service. It's deeply appreciated. When you launched the Economic Freedom Fighters back in 2013, you positioned yourselves as a Marxist-Leninist sort of political party with a sharp focus on the poor. In essence, you positioned yourselves as a socialist party. In practical terms, what does socialism look like in Africa? In other words, what sort of policies are we talking about here?
We're talking about a policy where the state controls the strategic means of production. So anything strategic in the economy, the state must be in control. But when you say the state must be in control, people think that you are talking about the total 100% state ownership of that particular sector, which is incorrect. So we are saying there are certain things that we cannot entrust an individual private companies to provide. Things like railway lanes, things like ESCOM, things like water. I mean, human beings are emotional beings. He just wakes up one day and says, these people have made me angry, and he switches off the electricity. It can't be an individual decision on who gets electricity or not. It must be a state responsibility. The ownership of the Reserve Bank, the ownership of the monopoly industries, and so on and so forth. You don't close out private ownership, but it can be dominant.
So ultimately, the state has to be central.
The state must be central.
Give me an example on the African continent of a state that is doing exactly that successfully.
There are no states in Africa that are practicing socialism. They all came in the name of the revolution, but they've never said they are socialist governments. I wouldn't say there is this government in Zimbabwe or in Malawi or in Nigeria or in Egypt that I would say they've ever said they have declared their state a socialist state.
Let me respectfully disagree with you.
Yeah.
Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana, Tanzania under Julius Nyerere, people like Mengistu Haile Mariam, who led the socialist military junta that led Ethiopia in the 1970s and 80s, also tried it with policies similar to what you are telling me about. So it has been tried in Africa.
No, your question, you see, you're answering a wrong question after you asked the question. You said, which state is practicing that? At the current moment, there is no such a state. It has been tried in Ghana, Julius Nyerere, it has been tried in Zambia, and many other parts of the world. It is not the socialist policies that have failed. You must know that once you come up with a socialist policy as an isolated state, the West and America will come and attack and make sure that that policy doesn't succeed so that it is not practiced in other countries. So its attack on other countries and making it impossible for it to succeed does not demonstrate that it has entirely failed.
South Africa owns Eskom.
Yes.
And isn't that an example of what you're talking about?
Yes.
Are you blaming foreign interests for the failures of Eskom?
But Eskom hasn't failed. The individuals who failed. We didn't have to change Eskom. We just had to remove an incompetent white person, director, and bring in an African competent person. And Eskom has turned around. So that's a clear demonstration that a state can deliver and deliver efficiently. Eskom has got its own challenges, but we have electricity now, and that is its primary objective.
You know what I'm trying to understand, Mr. Malema? Socialism failed where it was born in the Soviet Union. I'm trying to understand why you are so convinced that it will succeed in South Africa.
But capitalism has not succeeded anyway.
Well, I didn't say anything about capitalism. Let's talk about socialism.
Must not be told like socialism has failed and therefore there was an alternative economic system that succeeded. No one can show me the success of capitalism in Africa.
I didn't say anything about capitalism though. Yeah.
But if you go to Cuba, you'll find a very successful socialist state which is able to provide the most basic necessities to our people, despite the fact that it has been under an economic embargo for the past 60 years.
But Julius Malema and his economic freedom fighters appear to be losing their popularity. In 2014, they secured more than 6% of the national vote. They received almost double in the following election cycle. But then the EFF dropped to 9% in May 2024. They were overtaken by former President Jacob Zuma's Umkhonto weSizwe party as South Africa's third biggest political party.
Well, it's a slight decrease.
It is a decrease nevertheless.
No, I'm not where I was. I'm happy you even have a state. I'm not where I started. If I was at 2014 and below, then we could declare a crisis. There was a phenomenon that arose in South Africa of MK, which we underestimated it and never thought it would have the impact it did. The number that you are talking about, which we've lost as the EFF, only comes from KwaZulu-Natal. Everywhere else, the EFF is growing and its numbers are promising. And given these elections, actually this percentage we got is a victory to us because these elections were about wiping off the EFF and we still emerged.
Well, but you can't say that you didn't see it coming. I mean, Jacob Zuma is a former president. You know very well that he enjoys support, particularly in KwaZulu-Natal. So I would say you failed to come up with an election campaign that would effectively respond to this problem.
No, you can't say from a comfort zone that I failed. You must step into these shoes. You'll realize that I fought battles. I mean,
I'm working with the numbers.
Yeah, you work with numbers. Elections is not only numbers, it's also the amount of time and work you put into an election. We, for the first time, have had a huge rally in KZN at Moses Mabhida Stadium, something that was unheard of, something that was exclusively for the ANC. We put up a good fight, and that's why we don't even regret. And that's why we can't even call for dissolution of KZN structures, because you must try so that even if you fail, we all are like, but they've put up a good fight. And that's what South Africans have said. They've put up a good fight, and they must not be discouraged by these results. Good things are still to come.
You are dealing with the departures of key leaders, including your deputy president, Floyd Shivambu. You've also lost Advocate Dali Mpofu, your former chairperson. As we speak, I'm not sure if Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi is still part of the EFF or not. What's going on?
Nothing is going on. People are engaged in their personal development. Politics are not static. And when people decide they've done everything here and they think they need a different environment, they move to the next step. The only cowardice thing is they don't get to engage you openly and say, look, we've done everything humanly possible, we are no longer here.
Who didn't engage you?
All of them, everyone, including Dr. Ndlozi. He is a member of the EFF, but when he resigned from Parliament, he has never spoken to me. And no one has ever said to us, except that I went to Floyd to ask him. And I asked him, I said, let's meet at your house. And I went to his house for simple reasons, that I wanted to speak to him in his comfort zone. And I said, I came here, you said you have not renewed your membership, you're no longer a member of the EFF. So you don't have to look at me as your president or someone who can do anything to you because you are no longer under the EFF. Speak to me openly. And then I went closer to him. I asked him, what did I do to you?
And the answer was?
Nothing. So why are you taking the decision you're taking? No, it's a revolutionary decision to take, I think. It's a personal decision. It has nothing to do with anything that you have done wrong.
I remember the first time I did an interview with you in 2008. Floyd was next to you. Over the years, he's been with you. You grew this political party together. Surely you must have seen that there was something wrong, no?
No. I've not seen anything. Because my question was necessitated by the fact that I didn't want to repeat what I did wrong to Floyd to another person. And that's what I said to him. I'm asking you not for you to come back. I'm asking you to tell me so that I don't repeat the same mistake to the next person. I'm thinking I'm doing the right thing, only to find that this person is offended by what I'm doing. So I cannot be held accountable and responsible for people who leave and they don't give me reasons, and they don't give you guys reasons as to why they left. They are the only ones who can answer those questions because I don't know. But what is even more worse, they're in the opposition, they're in the leadership of the opposition of the EFF. They still can't tell you why they left.
If you put it that way, would you not say that this is a reflection on your leadership? Because I can imagine, an EFF supporter saying, well, Mr. Malema did well to build a strong political brand. This political party is now in parliament, etc. But maybe it's time for you to step aside and give somebody else a chance to come in with fresh ideas and take the EFF to the next level. People are leaving. Surely, it is a reflection on your leadership.
You can't. You said 5 people. You can't say people are leaving as if we've got more than 50.
Mr. Malema, you are downplaying it.
No, you can't say that.
You are downplaying it.
I'm not downplaying it. You are overemphasizing it and trying to create an impression of a crisis that is non-existent. If there is someone who's asking the question you're asking, that person would have had to join the EFF and come and say that at the conference of the EFF, which was held now in December, where members of the EFF were there, where members of the EFF said, we want you to continue as a president uncontested.
You are listening to the BBC's Africa Daily podcast with me, Mpho Lakaje. Today I'm sitting down with EFF leader Julius Malema for an exclusive interview that covers a variety of topics. One of his party's key policy propositions is a borderless Africa. I asked him what this means.
We must have one passport for all Africans, where we're able to move freely without any hassle. Because it shouldn't be easy for a British to move from Britain and come to South Africa with ease. And it becomes difficult for one of the African countries to come in because there are so many requirements of this and that when we are all living under one continent. If there's no free movement of goods and people, this African economy is stuck. The only way we're going to grow this economy is when we start trading amongst ourselves. It's when we start exchanging cultures amongst ourselves. It's when we start doing what Europe is doing. They give you a Shanghai visa, you wake up in Italy, you eat breakfast, and then you eat lunch in Paris without a hassle. But we're asking for the same thing, it becomes a big problem. It becomes a sponsored outrage that the EFF wants to bring all Africans here. It's not true. I'm not saying people must not be documented. We must all have one passport, which means we must all be documented.
You see, that's an interesting one, and I would like to pick up on exactly that, because you recently said African immigrants must find creative ways to get into South Africa. What did you mean by that? It sounds like you are advocating illegal immigration.
No. It was during COVID, and as the conditions were improving, people wanted to come back to their work. People of Lesotho, people of Swaziland, and all of that. And they were stuck. These are the people that were not coming illegal. Anyway, they don't need me to say you find creative ways. They are here. They were here even before I said that. But I had a problem with the workers, with the students who wanted to come back to work, and they were well documented, and they were being prevented from entering South Africa.
So you wanted them to force their way in?
No, they had to come in anyhow because the government was now using a strong hand on compliant people. On compliant people. Once government becomes unreasonable, we have no duty to respect such government.
So you have to break the law.
The unjust law is not law worth respecting.
Let's talk about nation building. What would that look like under the EFF government?
Well, the nation building under the EFF is going to be very nice, very interesting. The first thing we're going to do is to create a single national anthem. We've got two national anthems in South Africa, Nkosi Africa and Distem. Why? Because you always want to appease white people as if they are victims when we are the victims. White people do not know Nkosi Sikelele. When we sing Nkosi Sikelele, they are mumbling. And then when the stem starts, you must even look at the posture, the body changes. So you can see that these are two separate songs. And we've allowed that, and we call that nation building. We have to have one national anthem. That is going to force all of us to know it, because that's the only anthem we have. But you have to democratize the economy as well, so that when you speak the rich and the poor, you don't effectively mean white and black. There must be a deliberate state intervention to empower black people so that they can be at the same level with white people and they can relate as peers, not as the inferior and the superior. So we have to do away with that.
Do white South Africans have a place under a government that's led by the EFF?
There's no South Africa that will not have white people. They've naturalized, this is their hope.
Yeah, but I mean, you are singing songs like kill the farmer, kill the bull, kill this one, kill that one.
And the court have agreed with me. So what is BBC to me if the courts can say there's nothing wrong with this song? It's not like I'm just being reckless and useless there and then, no, I've been before the courts. And the court said, in the context of the history of our struggle, this is a necessary song to be sang because it never referred to individuals. It has always referred to a system of oppression and apartheid. That's what the Boer and the farmer is used in that context. Not for individuals, farmers to be killed. Because if we must kill the farmer, then they must start with me. I'm the farmer.
Now, before I wrap up, I'm going to step away from politics. I would like to introduce you to a different side of this firebrand leader. When you are not busy fighting Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa or former President Jacob Zuma, what do you do? I know that you love football. I've seen you at the stadium.
Well, I'm a farmer. So when I find time, I go to farm. And then I spend a lot of time with my kids. I've got 3 boys and my wife because we don't spend a lot of time with them. And December, I use it purposely for family gatherings. So for sure, my family meets over 4 or 5 days because they never get to meet during the year. I mean, I would not want a situation where a person says when I appear on TV, that's my cousin, but he has never shared a meal with me or seen me in an informal manner. So after everything else, I'm a family man. I belong to my family. And football, I support Orlando Pirates. I'm a strong supporter of Orlando Pirates. And when I get time, I do go and watch the games.
I guess that's one of the things that you and I have in common. I'm a Buccaneer myself, and I'm a family man. I know that you also love music. I know for a fact that you're a DJ.
Absolutely. You know, when things don't make sense to me and I get so stressed and frustrated, I will sleep during the day. I'll just go into blanket, sleep. And then when I wake up, I've got an idea on how we're going to deal with this problem. But as I was growing up, then I found music as another way of calming me down. So I DJ, and my firstborn is now DJing better than me. And then his second brother, who's now 8, says he wants to learn how to DJ. So, and I've got CDJs in all my homes, not DJing for commercial purposes, but for self-entertainment.
Fun. Which one is better? South Africa's Amapiano or Nigeria's Afrobeat?
South Africa Amapiano. Nigeria Afrobeat is the thing. It's okay, but South Africa first. Amapiano first. Then Nigerian music will come. You must ask those that I spend a lot of time with. I tell them, as we start playing, I say, no, you start with Amapiano, then you go to Niger, then you can go to other things. But those things of Chris Brown and all, I don't do such things. I don't want to be missing people when I'm sitting here. I miss you. I don't want.
Mr. Julius Malema, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.